To rule a medieval empire, a king had to project his authority across thousands of miles of mud roads, deep forests, and hostile mountain passes. Direct physical control over every village was practically impossible. Looking closely at the historical record, historian Timothy Rauter pointed out that our modern idea of top-down royal command in the Middle Ages is mostly a fiction. When a monarch issued a decree from the capital, local lords frequently ignored it. Because the crown lacked the permanent infrastructure to send an army to every defiant town, royal orders routinely vanished into local apathy. If a ruler couldn't actually enforce their will by force across these distances, how did these sprawling empires manage to survive for centuries without collapsing? They survived by building a specific architecture. Maintaining a state required two distinct pillars to convince thousands of isolated people that they belong to a single connected community. Sovereignty does not emanate from a magical bloodline. It operates like a machine, relying on a constant flow of human operators to act as the software and permanent physical objects to serve as the hardware. In the 10th century, the German Ottonian Empire was a highly fractured collection of territories. The king simply could not be everywhere at once, and brutal winter weather made long-distance communication incredibly difficult. We can see how the state solved this fragmentation in this academic study on Saint Wolfgang of Regensburg. His career provides a clear map of how the empire used clerical mobility to function. Wolfgang rarely stayed in one place. He studied in Swabia at Regenau, moved to the cathedral school in Würzburg, took a teaching position in Trier, and was actively recruited by the Archbishop of Cologne. Every time he moved, he carried the state with him. When he eventually became Bishop of Regensburg, he imported administrators and monastic customs from his time in Trier to reform local Bavarian monasteries, like St. Emmeram. Sociologists refer to this dynamic as co-presence. By physically showing up in these distant regions, administrators like Wolfgang built personal loyalties, exchanged vital information face-to-face, and created a shared elite culture. The Ottonian state held together because a specialized class of educated administrators spent their lives exhausted in the saddle, weaving the empire together through constant, deliberate movement. But human networks share a fatal flaw. They are fragile. Alliances fracture, individuals lose favor, and eventually the people die. Notice how this silver Swedish throne and crown sit empty. They illustrate the solution to human mortality. A state secures its permanence by forging its legitimacy into physical artifacts that outlive any single human life. In this archival portrait, King Oscar II of Sweden is wearing the historical Riksregalia, the Royal Regalia. These jewels operate as the permanent hardware of the realm. The details on these items project an explicit ideology. Eric XIV's golden orb, created in 1561, features a highly detailed, globally accurate map that was accidentally engraved backward, topped with a cross to signal divine dominion over the earth. Over time, the Swedish state executed a quiet institutional takeover of these artifacts. A bureaucratic agency called the Kammarkollegiet was assigned to inventory and guard the jewels, locking them away in a vault. In 1723, King Frederick I and Queen Ulrika Eleonora tried to dictate how the crowns would be used. The Kammarkollegiet shut them down, entering into the official record that these objects were the realm's regalia and not the majesty's own. By legally detaching the crowns from the monarch and locking them under the control of a bureaucracy, power is separated from human frailty. The state becomes immortal. The machine requires both halves to function. The human software constantly moves across the map to adapt to crises, while the heavy metallic hardware sits in the dark to anchor the system in deep time. We see this exact dynamic in this photograph of the modern Swedish king in a standard business suit. He performs the daily administrative work of the state, operating entirely separately from the ancient gold locked beneath the palace. Sovereignty is a constructed machine, held together by the exhausting daily travel of its people and the gravitational pull of its physical symbols. As we look at this modern coronation, we are watching the same architecture at work. We all participate in these imagined communities, bound together by the people we interact with and the ancient symbols we agree to revere.